Hi, Gemini. Welcome to the space. Welcome to now, whenever you arrive. Okay, if you're new here, this space is called Opal Oracle, and my name is Raaji. If you're returning, you're a regular. It's very nice to have you here again. Thank you for being a part of this space. It's always a pleasure to do my due diligence, and I thank God for this job, so thank you for, helping create this space too. That's how it works. All right. I'd like to read you a little something. Oh, we're supposed to let's open the cards first. This month I'm going to show you the cards because most of you have sight, and that's a beautiful thing. Also, I find it interesting when you take away the sight of a person and you just use your ears and your, it changes something when you take away one of the senses, right? Okay, I'm gonna bring you on down. See you in a little bit. Hold on. Let's push these over a little. Okay, let's open these puppies. Let's open these puppies up. This card's so funny to me. Who's there? Knock, knock. It's who used to be there. And who's there now? And I guess some of the knocking on the door should be something that you don't let it, right? There's a certain people you open the door, and some people you really want to wonder why it's there, right? Okay. Oh, this one goes here. Ah, yes. Okay, just a second, please. Ooh, good one. Ooh, fascinating. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, we'll read that just a second. Only clarity, willingness to change is effective now. A correct relationship with yourself is primary. From it all flow from it flow all possible right relationships with others and with God. Remain modest. That is the oracle's counsel. Strive to live the ordinary life in a non-ordinary way. If you feel blocked, there is a message here that is urging you to begin by being clear with yourself. You have the card of Secret and your card, the Magician. Do not turn to others now, but look inside in silence for the enemy of your progress. No matter what area of life is in disarray, stop and consider. You will recognize the outer enemy as but a reflection of what you have not, until now, been able or willing to recognize as coming from within. Above all, do not give yourself airs. Breaking the momentum of past habits is the challenge here. In the life of spirit, you are always at the beginning. Ooh, fascinating. Okay, Gemini. So let's start at the beginning. What do we have here? So I guess there's an essence of maybe wanting to pretend a little bit that the now is not happening, and perhaps reminiscing into an older space. And so if there is any contemplation into the past, maybe a little bit of shadow, right? What doors are open? What doors are now closed? Did you close them, lock it, leave the key on the counter and give your notice? Or, was the door slammed in your face? This is about the past. For instance, no one has put you in a position. You chose to be in that position. I guess in some ways or another, to hopefully open up a space inside of you so that you recognize what's appropriate or not, right? I heard we cannot always live as a child once we are grown. Gemini, in essence, is the epitome of children, right? It represents children. But you are not a child. I see again, you are grown. Why do, for instance, you accept certain things without realizing why you do? You know, it's almost like I feel like there is something impulsive here where something comes knocking and then you're just like, oh, the door, someone is knocking on the door. Let me open that, whatever it is, something approaches you. The tendency is to approach it, meet it where it's at. But you have to ask yourself sometimes before you open the door, why are you doing that? Didn't you learn this before? Not to open that door? Or when it's appropriate, right? Usually you would say, if there's a knock, it would be like, who's there? And then if there's no answer, or the answer is creepy, or you pick up on the tonality of it, or if this is a letter or an email, you would pick up on the energy of it. Is it dark? Is it light? Right? And then from there, you can understand, okay, well, do you invite that in? Do you give that your energy? Or do you decline? I heard not interested, or come on in, oh yeah, I didn't realize you were in the neighborhood, something like this. I guess this is also very much about boundaries. Now, if for some reason growing up or in your past, there was an issue with boundaries, right? You had alcoholic parents, you were a free reign child, you didn't have structure, whatever the excuse was, it doesn't really matter. It's about being responsible, right? Know thyself. This is the temple of Adelphi, right? Know thyself is the first sentence, and the second is nothing in excess. So in ways of boundaries, you can set them with other people, especially when dealing with other adults, right? But you cannot necessarily expect other people to agree with that. You can let them know if it is overstepped, well, then perhaps things go separate ways. If there can be a compromise, well, then you meet in the middle and consider it. I do see that multiple people want the same things, and those who are willing to work for it and have a genuine comprehension and ability of wanting to be in that same space. No, I heard knocking with intention, right? Not because someone wants something, but because it's a mutual sharing. Well, then, yes, let this in. Now, the thing is some of you do have expectations. I feel like this is more in ways of well, I guess the thing is sometimes I guess, well, this is your reading. So I see that sometimes when things are said, people expect that which they love, to understand them. But that's not always the case, right? I guess this is something that you're meant to learn. And I heard not overly express yourself when the situation isn't what you want, but also not clamming up because you've like shutting down, be like, well, I'm not going to talk about anything serious anymore because if I don't talk about something, you're not going to understand me anyway, so I'm not going to say anything. Or when someone says, because what's going to happen here is this is going to affect the future. And I see that the power of the mind is very strong, but you do have, there's a secret that you have, Gemini. And I guess the secret in a sense, and I need you to know that this is a human thing, but there is a secret that is not where something is strong on the outside, but it's not strong on the inside. And this is also, in a way, I'd like an extra, just a second. Okay. If you don't believe that you're enough, then the thing that you're trying to create will never show up. You won't be respected by the people that you love. You won't be, again, whatever it is that you feel like inside of yourself is not enough, like in ways of, because again, the outside could be like, yeah, really boisterous on the outside. But the inside is contemplative, and I heard convoluted, then this is what interrupts, again, the creation process. I also see that your home life and your work life, there's something about the combination of these and needing to find some sort of balance. Like, in ways of, it's okay, spending time with your family, spending time with your loved ones, and then also spending time with yourself, because I also see that this is a very good contemplative time for you to figure out where you don't think that you are good enough for something. And maybe this has to do with a secret of a situation that happened to you a long time ago, where you, because something happened, could have been when you were a teenager even, it could have been a really long time ago, like teen, early 20, whatever, still basically a child in an adult body. Do you know what I mean? Something like this, but where something happened, and because of that, it interfered with your own confidence. Because of that, you shut a door. But I see that for a lot of you, this is you knocking on your own door. Again, like that message said earlier, do not look to other people like, oh, well, this is that way because I can't do this because of this person. Like, I can't do this because, oh, well, these people, like I feel responsible for this, or whatever the situation is, whatever that excuse is, I heard is BS. That's not important, and that's not enough for you to create what it is that you want. So the point is I also feel like there are other air signs. There could also be other people that are very honest and straight shooting. This could be Sagittarius, Libra. I see Aquarius is very straight. Energy like this. Is that has been teaching you for a while. Like, this goes into that shadow where it's like, knock, knock, who's there? Like, what's, I heard something about like, be like, hi, I'm your shadow, you know, like, I don't know if I can make a shadow right now, but hi, I'm your shadow. It's like the shadow of the past. And something's needing to come alive. I feel like this has to do with Aries too. It could just have to also do with something impulsive, because this don't let it in the Knight of Wands to me is, and a lot of people have mentioned this during this month, this time frame, is that like there's a change in habit. Oh, right. I wanted to read that to you. Just a second. It's Perth. What page is that? 103. Oh, the moon in Scorpio also, which I guess is a deep connection to the mother. It's an attachment to females, emotional attachment to females. It's also where feelings become buried. And this, I feel like, is, yes, there are some situations, if you have assessed them, that you put that in the cave, you put the boulder in front of it, you don't let that out, right? It is something that hurts you, and you know that it hurts you. It's unhealthy, whatever it may be, habit, person, relationship, etc. But there are other parts of you, again, that you pretend like it's not an issue and you're super strong, but you're actually really weak about it. Now, I'm saying this, and I want you to take this in a loving, soft way. And again, this message is coming through here, but if you sat in silence, you know you would find this anyway. It says, nothing external matters here, except as it shows you your inner reflection. There's also a bit, I guess, of adjusting in the sphere of your personal relationships. This is something that will be a beautiful surprise if you can take, like, if you can have, you need to have like a really raw conversation with yourself. And if anybody is coming at you for some reason, whether this is a memory, hard conversations, arguments with other people, misunderstandings, whatever, sharp tongues, right? This is showing you, it's trying to, I see, open up something. And if anybody is extending this to you, also you need to know that this is a wound within them, but you obviously somehow, either you played a role in it and that is the truth, or this is something that is askew in a person's mentality that needs to be adjusted to know what is someone's and what is not, right? Okay, so you don't catch yourself at like in a place so that things are in the right order. I feel like you have a lot of power right now, right? And the magic within you, the power of you, and again of your mind, right? There are some things that you have to learn to do on your own. And if you, I feel like a lot of you have been learning this, but this is also a big, like, it's because you've healed greatly in balancing some sort of emotional space, because through the seasons, this is like multiple year process, right? And now you're here and now you have to do something solo. If any of you are in any kind of codependent, or you are doing everything that you're doing literally has to do with another person, and there's nothing you're doing individually, there's an issue. And that is where there is the lie that you are not good enough or strong enough or mature enough to do strong enough, I see again, smart enough to do something on your own. Now, it doesn't mean disregarding everybody in your life, but it's about taking up, I heard, the ability to be able to challenge yourself to say, hey, yeah, someone's like, do you need a hand? Well, yes, be wise. Yes, I need a hand. This is heavy. But someone, I heard, distracting you with something so that you don't do something, or you distracting yourself so that you don't have to take the next step in your own evolutionary growth, is a lie to yourself. Now, this says completion is crucial here. For you now have the strength to achieve completion, as well as resolution, which comes from a new beginning. It may be timely for you to complete some project now. If so, to complete something now. If so, make that your first priority. Perhaps a difficult state of mind can be clarified or resolved. Yes, amen. Although you must fertilize the ground for your own deliverance. All things change, and we cannot live permanently amid obstructions. Your emergence from a closed chrysalis state. As you resolve and clear away the old, you will experience a release of tension and uncertainty. Okay? You may be required to free yourself from a rut, habit, or relationship, even from some deep cultural or behavioral pattern. Some activity that was quite proper to the self at a certain time, you are now needing to leave behind. The time of birth is always a crucial one. Movement can involve danger, yes. Yet movement also is movement that is timely, leads one out of danger. The time has come to enter the delivery room. And this is expressing the need for counsel in preparation. It says being centered and grounded, freeing yourself from all unwanted influences, and seeing the humor. You are indeed prepared to open the will of heaven and await your deliverance with calm certainty. Wow. I do feel like certain fire signs, you want to be cautious and letting them in. Maybe this is distracting energy for you, right? Fire is your opposite. This could be Scorpio, Pisces, Aries, Sagittarius, Leo. Although, well, that's another story. But just in general, if those people are in your life and you know that, and you are drawn towards them, or they're always knocking on the door like, hey, Gemini, what are you doing? Da, 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 trying to distract you, trying to... It's not that they're distracting you. It's that you're letting somebody do something to you, right? There is no one is ever being manipulated. One is allowing. Nothing is ever, what do I see? Nothing is ever happening to you. You allow it to happen to you. Now, of course, there is extreme circumstances, but I don't see that here. The only majors is the Magician and the Wheel of Fortune, which actually both break down to a 1. So some of you, if your job isn't doing what you want it to, well, then you need to up your confidence level. Maybe you need to, again, figure out, like, what are some secrets that you hold in yourself that have to do with your own... This could also be some people talking down at you, but remember, whenever someone talks down at you also, if that happens to ever, whenever this has ever been the case, was to show you where your weakness is, right? Which in essence, I guess I'll bring this up, although I generally don't use these words in this space because I feel like they're over reiterated, and nowadays, whenever something's popular, I really am tried to veer clear because there's obviously some sort of spell versus a prayer around it. But the point is that whole narcissistic, empathy, the empath and the narcissist, it's like, no, empath is actually a bit of a narcissist when you don't know what's going on, because then there's a codependency, and the narcissist is going to be like, give me attention. Well, basically it's this. Something says, give me attention. And then someone's like, oh, you need attention, even though they don't really need attention. But the only reason why the empath does it when it's in a negative shadow space, and I'm not saying this is happening for all of you now, I'm saying, but it could. But I'm saying, like, be aware that especially when the sensitive one goes towards the other, it's because something needs to be adjusted, and something needs to be strengthened. And also, I guess, in a way, humbled, right? Like, oh yeah, if you want something to happen, you have to believe in yourself. And maybe some of you also want to look at your journals, and if you have them, or your diary, or I don't know, you could go back to your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever you have for this kind of written documentation. And maybe you want to go back, I don't know, however many years, go back a year, 3 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. And what were you talking about then? What were you doing then? And is the communication clear? Because sure, anybody can put a poetic spin on reality or on the past, right? Something that doesn't, like, just say it straight, but sometimes it's necessary to literally call yourself out. Because if you don't call yourself, I tell this to Aries all the time, and this is just a extra tidbit of information. When you don't call yourself out, then other people will call you out. And it's still love in a way, but you also got to figure out what's healthy or not. Do you know what I mean? And I guess, do you have any secret people in your life? Have you ever had a secret crush, or like a secret lover, or a secret friend, or any? Please tap into these secrets, because secrets make us sick. And I see more than anything, yours is about recognizing whether, like, you really want to look at your weakness and understand that it probably is a weakness. But that's the best way to resolve it, right? The alcoholic does not become sober. You cannot change a pattern if you do not recognize that it is a problem. And not only just saying like, oh yeah, I know I do that, or like, I know it's not good for me, but I don't care, like, or yeah, that was me, they're really mean to me, but they're my family, they love me. It's like, no, 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 no. That, and again, you don't have to cut people off, and it's not about snapping back at them either. It's just taking a step back and being like, okay, what just happened there? Do you know what I mean? And again, I see, please look at your weakness and know that there are some things, the psyche is very complicated. Everybody has that voice in their head that is very mean to them. And I would actually say any of you who specifically are Taurus rising, and I know that's very specific, but I've been seeing Gemini since the beginning of the year, very much in the 12th house, which is a great undoing and untangling of mental programming. Do you know what I mean? And to really shift something, to rewrite the history of the way you perceive or remember the past, which therefore helps the present and creates the future. This is important, right? If we tell ourselves the same story over and over, well then nothing ever changes. And sometimes maybe this is also admitting to somebody else in your life, if that's the case, like, hey, maybe you have to admit a secret. Or maybe some of you have to admit, like, look, maybe this is your children or your coworkers or whatever it is. You got to be like, hey, look, they give you a task or this is what you're supposed to do. And you're like, hey, I'm not really good at that. Like, I could practice, but this isn't my strong suit. I heard, don't you know that? But if somebody's like, maybe there's an honesty too, where someone's like, look, you're obviously not good at that because you blah, blah, blah. Or, and it's not to lean into this quote unquote negative side, but there's a lot of darker cards here, which shows me a kind of shadow. And again, that 12th house is helpful, Remember that really everything that happens to us is helping us to find love in ourselves and to also heal something greatly emotionally and where we come from in a family sense. If we don't learn from others, then we're lying to ourselves. Do you know what I mean? That's why there's other humans. If we didn't need to learn that way, I suppose there wouldn't be a bunch of humans. It would be like a hawk, where there's just like one hawk and then maybe two hawks. Occasionally a baby hawk, then the baby hawk goes off. There's two. There's like, however many millions of people. Interesting. I would also say if any of you are in a marriage, whatever the situation is, if there's something that is not enough, and you're in a committed relationship, you have to be honest about what's really going on there. It's sort of like you got to lay all your cards on the table, not to be like, you did this and you did that. It's not exactly about that. It's about like, this isn't enough for me, but you have to admit it to yourself, because it doesn't even really matter what you say to other people, because again, they're not necessarily going to, and this has happened to Libra and Capricorn too, but not everybody is going to understand what you say when you say it, and you have to just accept that. And then keep working on yourself. And if you are unhappy, please do not put glitter on top. Like, this is also like a second, 8th house conversation. So this is what you find valuable, acceptable, and in yourself. And then this connects to other people, your marriage partner, your extended family, your work, right? How you provide for yourself. These are also money houses. So we're talking about stability. And everybody needs to go over the contract once in a while, you know what I mean? And talk about it. reestablish it, right? We can't live by the rules of the beginning of the game, especially if it's, you know, even a year, 3 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years down the line. You have to, yes, you have to sit still and be like, okay, how does this feel? Where are we at now? It's about addressing it, right? And then seeing what the concerns are, the worries and the concerns are, and then coming up with some sort of resolution that is, I heard, compromisable. And the thing is there may be some things that come up there. If any of you do have this conversation with others, although I feel like you should definitely have it deeply with yourself, and maybe even for the next couple months, have this conversation with yourself and figuring out what you really desire. And what you're maybe that Scorpio moon to, like for some of you, overly attached to, right? Or reliant upon. Because that's it's hard to let go in that space. It can be Scorpio moon can be very, very needy. No offense to anyone who has it. My nephew has it. It's a very strong, deep bond with the emotions. It also is, it's a place that is scary. You know, it's also be moon in the 7th, 8th house as well. Like it can be scary to go in there. So, and really for you, Gemini, it's very difficult to be still. So you have to be still to find whatever we're talking about here. And understand again that you are strong enough. You know, again, you're not a child. You are a grown adult. You have great capacity to know thyself. Which then it gives you ability to adorn yourself accordingly. Do you know what I mean? I love you so much. Thank you for the deep conversation. Especially if you're Earth rising. I feel like that can be very stubborn. And please look at your 2nd, 8th house if you know. And maybe you want to, little tidbit, I would also say it might be really good, especially if your moon's in the 8th house. Maybe you want to put your moon in the 8th house. If you know what this means, put your moon in the 8th house. What is that sign if it's not already there? I also see, please put your moon in Scorpio. And what house is that? Because each place is going to represent something. And this will also show you where you are unwilling to an extent or afraid to step forward. Okay. And remember that you can do it, whatever it is. You know, Gemini does always have a very youthful, young energy to them, which is a beautiful thing. But it's kind of like, I feel like it's supposed to be the laughing Buddha, right? Like you're ancient, you're like 100,000 years old, and you have the wisdom, but you still look at life through a child's eyes after you do all the responsible things that you're supposed to do. Imagine that one. You know? How much elevation you can find in that. And please, I do see this a great time to dive into some shadow for you. Okay. And remember, this is not something that will be done overnight. I know all of you like to do things fast, or you like to distract yourself with a conversation that's intellectual so you don't have to feel something. Please don't do that either. You will be, it's what my buddy calls spiritual bypassing. Okay, you don't want to do that to yourself. It's not nice. You know, you're here to grow and elevate, and I feel like there's such a beautiful spiritual conversation that can be had deep within you, emotionally and mentally together. Okay, it's like oil and water, but you can do it. I thank you for your time. I thank you for being here. If you've been over to Patreon, also very much appreciated. If you haven't and you'd like to check it out, please feel free. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for the lessons. I'll talk to you next time. Peace out.